Hey, what's going on, everyone? So I just wanted to kind of show something that I got in my shop that's a bit interesting. Kind of a cautionary tale for any of you that have hybrid or electric vehicles, because this is kind of an interesting one. So what I have is I have a 2017 Chrysler Pacifica. I'm in our back lot in the back 40 because this got towed in from a body shop. And I got towed in from a body shop because it won't move. Now, as we can see, it had a very small front end collision. So bumper covers a little wrecked on both sides, and some of the trim on the bottom is wrecked, but not too much damage in terms of accident or collision damage. The vehicle, clearly was able to roll on its own and leave without too much of an issue. The problem lies is this vehicle most likely will be totaled, and the reason why it'll be totaled is because of actions that possibly could have been prevented. The big thing is this reservoir is empty. Now we have 3 coolant reservoirs because this is a hybrid. So it's a 3.6 liter hybrid Chrysler Pacifica. So we have this big bottle right here, which is the coolant reservoir for the engine. So this is going to be what's considered the high pressure. So it's 21 PSI. And then we have these 2 smaller reservoirs that are 5 PSI. This reservoir right here is for the liquid cooled battery. This reservoir right here is for the high voltage electronics. So we're looking at the motor generators, the power inverter unit, and the alternator or belt alternator starter that this thing uses to start up. Downside that we're having with this is this reservoir is completely empty. And the reason why it's completely empty is because even though there's a minor amount of damage, the very front heat exchanger for this particular vehicle, which you can sort of see right there, you can kind of see the difference where it's dry and wet. The forwardmost heat exchanger on this is the heat exchanger for that high voltage electric system. We're the third party on this. I can only assume what happened, but what I can assume happened is a collision happened, minor damage, insurance and stuff was exchanged with both parties, and then the owner of this vehicle drove home. However, what they didn't realize was this high voltage electric system was leaking coolant at a fast enough rate to where it was going to cause damage to everything. And what it did do is it's caused damage to our power inverter unit, which is located on top of the motor generator on this particular vehicle. And effectively it has damaged the motor generator unit and this PMI beyond repair. And this is several $1,000s for each component, let alone the labor to repair that. What I actually have is I have our high voltage disconnect from the main battery, and there is a fuse in this. If we look, it says it's a 350 amp fuse. The body shop that it came from has put in a couple of these in, and they pop every time they try to hook up the 12 volt battery and they try to fire the vehicle up, which is an indication that there's an issue with the high voltage system. Now you might ask, well, why don't you rebuild the power inverter unit or the motor generator unit, or if the battery has damaged cells in it, why don't you replace the individual cells? It all kind of comes down to liability, and that's the big key here on why a lot of these hybrids and electric vehicles get totaled so easy. Is I have to be able to, without a shadow of a doubt, repair this vehicle and have it go on the road at a reasonable cost and a reasonable time, with it being safe and or better than it was when it left the factory. And unfortunately, we can't guarantee that with going in and rebuilding any of these units. We actually have to get special permission from Chrysler to even do a motor generator unit. So the motor generator unit is below power inverter unit up here, and it effectively is a transmission. It's got 2 motor generators in it and a simple planetary gear set that it divvies out between which motor generator is working or the internal combustion engine. The downside is that probably has something burned down at it, enough so to where it's actually very difficult to push this vehicle. So there's a park release back here that you can manually take the park release out, and we're not able to actually move this vehicle because of that. So this is a unfortunate circumstance. This vehicle with very, very minor damage is totaled. Now, my advice to anyone that has a hybrid vehicle or an electric vehicle is almost all of them have some sort of liquid cooling system that has a small pump that's going to push the coolant from a reservoir through a heat exchanger that's going to be in the front of the vehicle or the side of the vehicle, and then cool down the electrical systems. My advice would be, if you get in a small collision like this, double check, see if there's any liquid leaking out. And if there's any type of coolant on the ground, without a shadow of a doubt, tow it. More than likely, if this vehicle hadn't been driven to where it was going to pop the main fuse for the battery interlock, this vehicle probably would be very quickly repaired and back on the road. Again, don't know if this one's going to be totaled yet, but it is something that I just kind of wanted to put out there as a precautionary story. Learn from this vehicle's unfortunate demise, and hopefully if you do get in a small collision, shut the vehicle off. Don't let it sit in idle, and get it towed if you possibly can, especially if you have any damage like that. So that's all I got for this. Just a little quick one. Just kind of wanted to share something that I had in the back shop. Thanks for watching. Hope you found it entertaining and helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.